Time for the Turbine Guy's take on permits, permitting, the government, and is it permission or not? And that's what it all boils down to, because most people in governments think you are getting permission when you get a permit. Permit, permission, they kind of sound the same, but that is so far from the truth that it drives me nuts when I hear that. Building permits are simply there to ensure when people build, erect, and produce things that they are done to a certain standard as to not endanger themselves or others. Okay, now we need to understand that government has limited power. Now I know government doesn't believe that, but it is true. And these limited powers, especially when it comes to building permits, electric permits, and such, is directly related to the phrase health, safety, and welfare. And they need to be protecting the health, safety, and welfare in order to have the authority to write an ordinance or to write a rule or to cover what's going on. And this is very important because one can understand when you're wiring a house that you would want certain regulations so people don't run too much current through a wire and start a fire. Makes complete sense. So you set guidelines to protect people from that so that when contractors come in, you've got a set standard. But let's say I want to put up clothesline. Why should I need a permit for clotheslines? Clotheslines aren't endangering anybody. They aren't going to fall over more than 5 or 6 feet if they really could fall over. They aren't a huge thing. Yet for some reason, many communities not only require permits for clotheslines, but outlaw them illegally. Permits do not mean permission. You already have the right to build what you want on your property, given you don't cause danger to others. That right is inherent with all properties you own. Permitting is to protect others from what you may do on the property. You don't need permission for what you can already do. You may have to follow the guidelines and go along. Now, to me, one of the largest problems going on in relation to permits and permitting is that communities, cities, counties, states think that they can regulate everything. And for instance, in my community, Orono, Minnesota, they have a law all-encompassing that says if you erect, pound, screw, whatever, you need a permit. The ordinance is so encompassing that if you walk outside and decide, hey, I got to put an extra screw in my mailbox, you would need a permit to do that according to the code, and it leads to arbitrary enforcement. We need to get communities to understand that they can't regulate things such as color. They can't regulate things that are appreciated by some and not others. You can only regulate things that fall into the health, safety, and welfare of others, not visual aspect and not community standards. Because that's a big thing coming along now, is that they love to write community standards for a town, so you can only have certain kind of siding. You can only have certain kind of roofing. You can only have this or that. I mean, that's a HOA, homeowners association. That's not what our government's for. There's a big difference between HOA and government. If you choose to move into an HOA, that is your choice. Nobody has a choice not to live under government in this country. There's a big difference there. You choose to move into a set of rules that are all encompassing, or you have a set of rules that are all encompassing forced upon you through this bogus permitting process. And that's what we have to stand up, and that's what we have to think about, is how this permitting process has been bastardized to get people to come to heel to the will of government in relation to things that we all have rights to do in the first place.